Welcome to Scanner School session number 62, Scanner Radio apps for your smartphone and tablet. Now, this session of Scanner School is sponsored by EastCoastPagers.com. Now, again, East Coast Pagers is one of my online company. We are a Unication, Apollo, and Swiss phone dealer serving the U.S. market. East Coast Pagers sells numeric and alphanumeric paging products, as well as today's most advanced voice pagers used by many fire departments. When you purchase a Unication or Swiss phone pager, shipping is always included. Swiss phone pagers and Unication G4, G5 units will ship with spare belt clips, and the Unication G1 pagers will ship with a spare belt clip and a spare set of Tenergy AAA batteries. Complimentary programming of your department's dispatch and fireground frequencies are also included. Now, you can contact EastCoastPagers.com for a custom quote for your department or your individual needs. Again, it's EastCoastPagers.com, EastCoastPagers.com.
Welcome to The Scanner School, a podcast dedicated to the scanner radio hobby. Class is about to begin. Here is your host, Phil Lichtenberger.
So welcome to Scanner School. My name is Phil Lichtenberger. My Ontario call sign is W2LE. And this podcast is here to teach you everything that you need to know about the scanner radio hobby. Now, as always, the session notes from today's session can be found on our website at scannerschool.com/session62. So a few weeks ago, I polled the Facebook community at Scanner School and asked the group membership what apps they use on their smartphones and tablets. Now, if you're not a member of our Facebook community, it's a great resource. There's a lot of good conversations going on over there. And the address to join is scannerschool.com/Facebook group. Now, was quite a bit of discussion around this, and I kind of cherry-picked a couple of the apps that fit into 5 topics or 5 categories. So again, there's a lot more part of this conversation that happened in the Facebook group. So again, if you want to check out the Facebook group, go to scannerschool.com/Facebook group. So let's go ahead and go through the 5 different topics or subjects that I kind of grouped these all into. Again, this isn't the full list, but this is a nice list to get you started, and maybe some apps you may want to check out. So the first group we're going to talk about is live streaming apps. This is probably one of the most popular things to do with your smartphone or your tablet when it comes to the scanner radio hobby. So the one that I use the most is Scanner Radio Deluxe by Gordon Edwards. Scanner Radio Deluxe not only has Broadcastify app or Broadcastify feeds in there, but it also has feeds from other providers. So somebody like myself that not only broadcasts to Broadcastify, but also has their own set of live scanner feeds that are outside of Broadcastify, you'll find my feeds in there if you go under Browse by Source. There's also feeds by CentralCoastOnlineScanner.com, Railroad.net, ScanBC.com, and also ScannerCaster.net. So again, this one takes you beyond what's available on there as far as what's available on Broadcastify. Now, if you want a native app to Broadcastify, of course, you can always go and download the Broadcastify app, which is available as well on iOS and Android. So another app that I hadn't heard of and I hadn't tried, which came to my attention via the discussion on the Facebook group, is an app called Action Scanner Pro. Now, this one looks pretty neat. This is a paid app, but it allows you to monitor 6 Broadcastify streams at once, which is really, really cool. This is something really you could have only done from a desktop before this app came into play. So if you're looking for that app that allows you to monitor multiple live streams at once and you don't mind paying the small fee to get the app, I would suggest checking out Action Scanner Pro. Now, again, there's other apps out there besides these 3, like 5.0 Radio and a couple of other ones. But really, these are the 3 that I kind of went on my short list. Next, we have community apps. Now, community apps are apps that aren't necessarily streaming apps, but they're for a community buff group type of stuff or a small crowdsource type of engagement. So the first one that I use pretty much daily is called GroupMe. Now, GroupMe is different from everything else because you need to be invited into a group, start your own, or use some of your own detective skills to find local groups. Now, again, this could be as easy as jumping on your own Facebook page and saying, hey, guys, I just downloaded this GroupMe app, and I'm looking for local, GroupMe's to my area, or maybe even jumping on one of the many scanner resources on Facebook, including our own at Scanner School, and just saying, hey, I live in this neck of the woods. Does anybody have a GroupMe group they can invite me to? And then from there, you'll start seeing text messages and buff chats from the group, from part of the community on GroupMe, and many times you can share pictures as well. GroupMe is great if you get into a group that has a very strict rule set to them that only allows people to maybe post about an active incident. There's also groups out there that are a little bit more lax and allow them to kind of BS around a little bit, and you get a lot of side chatter, which can really drive you nuts. So even once you get involved in a GroupMe group, you can always say, hey guys, look, are there any other groups out there that somebody can invite me to? And you may find out that you start all of a sudden now getting a larger network of groups at your disposal, and you can leave and join a group at any time once you are invited into the group. So again, I do love GroupMe. I do run my own group for local Long Island incidents, as well as the local air show stuff. But there are plenty of other groups, and a lot of them are all repetitions of each other, and a lot of them all the same membership. So again, once you get into one group and you put that request out there, I'm sure you'll get flooded with other groups out there that you can join. Another community app which is really cool is called Zello. Zello is really a push-to-talk app, and a lot of radios are streaming on Zello. And again, Zello is push-to-talk and is pretty latency-free, so it means that the audio comes across as real-time or as near real-time as you can get. Besides having streaming channels out there, there's also, again, like two-way radio groups out there. So if when you used to pay for a Buff Network group, now you can join a Zello group. Sometimes they're open to the public, sometimes they are restricted. So you can join a Zello group and hear about breaking events in your area. Again, sometimes Zello would be a closed community, sometimes it's invite only, sometimes it's open. But what's really cool about Zello too is you got a lot of local feeds, but you can also join in and listen to, sometimes in listen only mode, into some nationwide channels. So again, if you have like a natural disaster, a hurricane, you can listen to the local ops in there. And again, a lot of search and rescue, a lot of coordination happens on Zello. So it's really cool to listen to that because they have a lot of things tied into it that are outside of the live streaming environment. I remember listening to one of the hurricanes that went through Florida, and the Zello channel was active for a couple of weeks when they were doing a lot of the coordination with the local groups. Again, you find outsourced groups or community groups such as the Cajun Navy and other crowd resources available that are using Zello for their communication needs. So again, if you only have to download one app, I would really recommend giving Zello a try. For those of you who have listened to the podcast, know that I'm not really an aviation buff where I'll sit down and listen to the air traffic control channels or anything like that, but I do like to keep my eyes on the sky basically and see what's going on with the planes flying overhead, some of their tracking and all that stuff. It's always pretty cool to see, if somebody has an alert, they squawk 7700 or 7500. And using an app like FlightAware is really good for that. Now, what I've done with FlightAware too is I've put the tail number in of our local PD helicopter as an alert. Our local PD is encrypted over here, but I do use FlightAware to find out where the helicopter is, where they're circling, how long they're circling for, and it kind of gives you an idea of what is going on without actually being able to listen to the local PD. So at least you still have some sort of an idea of what's going on. There's also another app out there called Flight Radar 24. Now, Flight Radar 24 is another free tracking app, and there are subscriptions available on that app to also remove the ads that are displayed on the feed. All right, I know we're moving through the list pretty quickly, but we have our last topic here, which is our additional apps. This one is a bit of a sore thumb for a lot of people. This is Unidin's Siren app. Now, this was developed by Unidin, was supposed to be released on both iOS and Android, but they never published the Android version of Siren, and that really left a lot of people really pissed off, I guess you could say, politely, with Unidin. And not only that, but Unidin took a very long time to develop this app and to get it out there commercially. Again, it's a free app, so when I say commercially, I mean out to the general public. So what Siren allowed you to do was connect to your BCD 536 HP and use it as a remote head or a remote device where you can control the BCD 536 as long as you're on the same LAN as the 536. Now, people have started experimenting with Siren and trying to get it to also talk to the SDS 200. I haven't yet had the time to play around with this, so I don't really know how stable it is or how well it will work. But in theory, as long as they both talk the same language, talking and using Siren on the SDS 200 should be pretty much the same as using as a 536. Hopefully, if it isn't, Uniden does come out with a patch, and it should be hopefully something that's very simple for Uniden's tech gurus to try and configure. Another app that's in my toolkit that I really can't live without is called Radio ID. Now, Radio ID uses your microphone in your handheld device, your smartphone or your tablet, and it will decode the two-way paging tones that fire departments use. So what you really do is you hold your smartphone or tablet in close proximity to your scanner, and as the two tones come over, it will display on the screen those two tones so you can write them down and maybe put them in your own pager, or also put it as in a fire tone out mode in your Uniden scanner. Now again, yes, your Uniden radio will do it, will detect the two tones and display them, but only the first two tones. Radio ID will show you the whole series of tones. The only drawback to Radio ID is that it compares it against the Motorola paging table. It doesn't compare them to the Plectron or the GE or anything else like that. It's close enough. It will get you in the ballpark where it should trip out your pager if you're setting up that way, or even your radio on fire tone out mode. So if you were curious to figure out what your local fire paging tones were, I suggest giving Radio ID a try. What Radio ID also can do is decode the MDC ID squawk that is typically used at the beginning or the end of a transmission on a two-way radio. And typically you'll hear that on police or fire band. Really what the MDC ID squawk is the unit number of the radio transmitting. So if, an example, if the apparatus ID is 6601, in theory, and if it was programmed correctly, the radio in that truck would broadcast MDC ID of 6601. Likewise, 6610 would squawk out with MDC ID 6610. Sometimes you'll get some extra radios, and you'll see that they will use Alpha, Beta, Charlie, Delta, and Foxtrot as part of the MDC ID squawk to identify what type of user that is as well. So again, if you don't have a radio that displays the MDC ID and you lack the hardware to do so, you can use Radio ID on your tablet or smartphone to show that information. Another app that's pretty handy is called Pulse Point. Now, Pulse Point is basically an app that was designed so that people can help out during a cardiac situation. Pulse Point will show you the AED or the defibrillator locations. So if somebody is having a problem, you can look at not really that you would look during an emergency to find out where the nearest defibrillator is, but that's really the point of the app. Also, if somebody is in an immediate area and a emergency call comes out and somebody might be in the same building as you and they're certified for CPR, they may get the alert too on their Pulse Point app and can come to the aid before the first responders show up. Now again, this is minutes save lives here, so if there's a somebody who is qualified to do so, that's really what Pulse Point is really for. But in addition to Pulse Point having that, not my local county, they are not affiliated with Pulse Point, but my neighboring county is. And every call that goes out over the fire rescue service is also mirrored on Pulse Point. So you'll see a little pinpoint on the map where if it's a fire call, an accident, or even just a medical rescue call, you will find out on the map where that is. And you'll get generic information on it. You're not going to get all the information on the type of situation it is. You may just get an MVA corner of whatever, or you'll get injury or cardiac incident at XYZ address with a pinpoint. So again, this is really to help the first responders and those qualified to help to maybe get there before the first responders then hand things over to the first responders. But again, Pulse Point is pretty cool because it is a free app, and I guess the way my neighboring county is also set up on it, that when units do respond, the calls are updated on Pulse Point. So it's another one of those free apps that are really, really cool that you can use. So one final topic, I skipped over this one earlier. It's an app that will help you with website forms, and I recommend using Tapatalk. Now, Tapatalk makes it easier for you to post and read to any website platform or forum that supports the Tapatalk app. Radio Reference being probably the largest scanner radio forum in the world. Radio Reference also supports Tapatalk. So a lot of times when we're on the forums and you see at the very bottom it says, posted via Tapatalk, this is the app that they're using. So if you're looking for a great app to help you post or read on Radio Reference, Tappa Talk is one that I would recommend. Now, again, my website, w2la.net, currently doesn't support Tappa Talk, but I am integrating that with my platform as well on the next release of my website. So those are the topics, or those are some of the apps that were talked about on the Facebook post. And there are others too, such as marine traffic monitoring, ISS monitoring, like with using Heavens Above or apps like that. Also some amateur radio stuff, but I kind of put those off a little bit because these are the ones that I use the most. And what we'll do too is I'll put some demos up of these software, basically how to install it, how to use them on our YouTube channel. So I don't have the videos up yet as I'm recording this, but those are some of the topics that I'm going to look at publishing on the YouTube channel. So if you haven't yet subscribed to our YouTube channel, please go to scannerschool.com/YouTube. I want to take a moment here to recognize and thank our Patreon supporters. We have a brand new Patreon supporter this week, Craig Harper. So Craig, thank you so much for joining our existing Patreon supporters, which include Brian Southworth, Dan, James Felling, Ken Newberry, Kenneth Fowler, MT Bono, Mark Beebe, Raymond Hill, and William Arcan. Now, we have Patreon levels starting at $1 a month. At $5 a month, you do get the podcast earlier. So as soon as I'm done publishing this episode, all my $5 Patreon supporters will get this podcast in their Patreon feed. At the $10 level, not only do you get the $5 benefits, but you also get a Scanner School coffee mug. And you can buy your own Scanner School coffee mug if you don't want to go on Patreon and be a Patreon supporter by going to scannerschool.com/shop. We have mugs, T-shirts, mouse pads, and all crazy stuff like that on there as well with different kinds of sayings. So, again, you can help support Scanner School by going to scannerschool.com/support. If you're an Amazon shopper like me, you just click on the Amazon link and then go ahead and shop at Amazon. We do have Patreon. We have one-time PayPal donations as well, and also a list of affiliates that we are partnered up with, where if you make a purchase from our affiliate, then we will earn a small commission. And this all helps keep Scanner School going. So again, don't forget to subscribe to the podcast by clicking the subscribe button in your favorite podcast player. Scanner School is copyright 2019 by Monitor Long Island, Inc. I am Phil Lichtenberger, and this is Scanner School, a podcast where we teach you everything you need to know about the scanner radio hobby. For all the links and all the information about today's podcast, you can view all the session notes at scannerschool.com/session62. And while you're there, please don't forget to subscribe to our email newsletter. 73 everyone, we'll catch you all again next Tuesday.